Hello and welcome to another episode of Sonya Maya's Psychology. I'm answering a fan pal question today. Somebody who is subscribed. Thank you to all of my fan pals. The link is below. If you want to do any topic requests, make sure to like and subscribe and turn on bell notifications. Make sure to comment below if you like videos like this about sex, psychology, and pleasure, because there's a lot more where that came from. Somebody asked, do you have any advice when it comes to making an inexperienced partner more comfortable in bed? And yeah, I definitely have some things that I could share. They said it's affecting their intimacy, which is, of course, valid. If someone's inexperienced, they're more likely to be in their head. And like I've talked about many, many times, the most important sexual organ is your brain.
Please don't neglect the brain.
So if you're feeling self conscious, stressed out, high cortisol levels, it's going to get in the way of being in the moment and therefore affecting the intimacy. The first thing to keep in mind is leading with curiosity instead of expectation of performance. A lot of people, whether it's a vulva owner or someone with a penis, but particularly a penis owner, I don't know if the person who asked the question is a man or a woman or if they're dating a man or a woman. However, I believe it was a man writing in about an inexperienced woman. But you don't want to make your partner feel like they have to perform. You want to let them know, inform them, educate them that every person is different in terms of what kind of pleasure they like. There isn't a one size fits all. Therefore, just watching a lot of porn growing up doesn't necessarily make you a good partner. What makes you a good partner is being open-minded and curious about your partner's individual wants and needs. And there's no way to know that off the bat. Also, there's no way to know what you can communicate about what you like unless you've explored that on your own. And I'm going to get into that in a bit. You want it to be more like a journey, an exploration. You're not testing the person to see how experienced they are. There's no conversation about body counts because I've talked about that before. I find it's ridiculous. You could be with a lot of people, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be sexually compatible with your current partner. But that is definitely something to work on, kind of like a muscle. We're working a muscle together as a couple. One very important tip is making sure that you learn how to get comfortable self-pleasuring before having partnered sex. And I've talked about this many times before. You can use resources like Beducated, for example. This is a company that I've worked with before, made videos promoting because they have a lot of really great self-pleasuring and partnered sex educational videos. You can try out a free trial, I believe. This isn't a promotion for them, but that's one example of a resource. You could read up on things. There's a lot of great resources on the internet looking at my type of social media or other sex educators in the space. Of course, making sure not to believe the ones that are myths because there is some misinformation out there. But if you watch more of my videos, you'll be able to, over time, figure out what's evidence-based versus nonsense. Things like nofap and whatnot. Masturbation's bad for you, all that nonsense is not true. I also like to recommend, not only to my couples, but to the world, that mutual masturbation is a really good tool, not only for beginners, it could also be for people that have feel experienced with one another. However, if you are practicing mutual masturbation, it's a great way to watch how your partner likes to touch themselves. So, of course, there's the whole learning how you like to be pleased on your own so that you can show your partner, you can be in front of them. It could be such a turn on, but also it's a good way to take note, pick up data. This is how my man likes to stroke his penis. This is how my woman, my vulva owner, likes her clitoris stimulated, you know? So it's really great for foreplay, but also just as you're getting to know one another, can be really good information, and it can also spice things up. Penetrative sex isn't always the end all be all. Number two, you want to create safety before intimacy. So you want to make sure that your partner feels safe opening up to you because it is really difficult to be in the moment if you don't feel secure. I've talked about attachment style many times on this channel and various other social media platforms, but people who have a secure attachment are more likely to be able to be in the moment, experience oxytocin and those feel good bonding hormones, whereas people with anxious attachment styles, whether it's avoidant insecure or anxious insecure, they're less likely to be able to be in the moment.
Looks like everyone is moving on and doing really well without you.
So that's something to work on. And this can be established by having weekly or even monthly check ins, really seeing if you're on the same page about love languages and all these other things. That's going to help with the bedroom more than you might think. Also, other people are not responsible for your nervous system. So, the more that you can regulate yourself, whether it's going to therapy and figuring out what that looks like for you, or moving your body more, etc., the more that you feel better regulated, the better your sex life is going to be. rather than relying on somebody to make you feel regulated. And that's a very common phenomenon with anxious attachment, for example. A big part of being a securely attached individual is learning how to regulate your own nervous system rather than feeling like you need validation from someone else, which is going to impact the bedroom, of course. Number 3, you want to create a safe atmosphere for learning together. So if you learn something that you might want to try, it's really healthy to discuss your fantasies. And like I've talked about before, using a resource like Beducated or even going on Psychology Today and reading articles about sex, this can be a great way to learn on your own, but then you could also do it with your partner. There's also books out there. There's a book called She Comes First by Dr. Ian Kerner. So you can read that on your own or have your partner read it. So creating an atmosphere of I'm learning and we're learning together. So a lot of these are very related, but this one is specifically about learning on your own and then making a comfortable atmosphere to learn with your partner, whatever it is that you're absorbing. And when you do learn something in one of these books or one of these articles or one of these videos that you want to try, using positive reinforcement. So you can say during a sex talk, which takes a while to get comfortable with sex talks, you can say during a sex talk, so I was reading about this thing and it actually seems like something I might want to try, or thinking about this type of fantasy really turns me on. What do you think? That kind of thing. And if they actually practice it, let's say you like learn something, some type of technique that you want to try. Let's say it's you heard on a Dr. Sonya Maya video that using a vibrator during doggy style can actually decrease the chances for pain because you are experiencing pleasure, which balances out the pain. Being able to share that with your partner, and then let's say they whip out that vibrator during sex, be like, after the fact, after the sex, maybe during aftercare, when you're cuddling afterwards, say something like, wow, I really appreciated that. Like, I felt so heard when you grabbed at that vibrator. That was so hot and it really spiced things up for me. That's the kind of positive reinforcement I'm talking about. And making sure not to use words like, no, don't do that, or stop, no, don't, etc. Those feel very rejecting, even if it's unintentional. So I also like to talk to my clients and other people about traffic light terminology. So like let's say they pull out the vibrator in that example and it's a yes, ooh, green light. But maybe you're not feeling the vibes right now. Red light. A yellow light might be like hand me the vibrator and let me use it on my nipples or something. So traffic light terminology. But if something feels good, let your body show it. Moans, compliments, these are all great examples of positive reinforcement that aren't necessarily within words verbalized. Just remember that inexperience isn't a problem. Problems come from pressure, expectations, silence, and judgment. But practice makes it easier. Talking about sex makes it easier. I hope you learned something new from this video. Make sure to like and subscribe and turn on bell notifications for more videos on sex and relationships. Everyone, please make pleasurable decisions and decisions because you deserve it. And I'll see you next time.